The air in the substation hums, thick with ozone and the ghost of nicotine, clinging to the dead server racks that stand like monuments to forgotten protocols. A single neon tube, the color of a fresh wound, flickers above the war surplus transmitter, its steady thrum a defiant heartbeat against the city's quiet decay. The console smells of hot metal and cold coffee, a silent witness to signals that refuse to die.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Welcome back, architects of the airwaves. Across Libertad, the dial sits at 51 Fahrenheit under overcast. Wind check, east-southeast at 7 miles an hour. Tonight we're tracing the blueprints of our inner and outer worlds, asking how we build with consent and dignity, not just with steel and silicon. We assert an unwavering autonomy, understanding that self-worth is structural, not contingent on external validation. Our first signal tonight brings us to Greater Manchester, where the architectural promise of social housing is shifting its foundations, blurring the line between direct social need and market opportunity.
Concrete facts reveal Mayor Andy Burnham's initial pledge of a £300 million fund exclusively for 10,000 new social homes has broadened its definition. Reports indicate a significant portion, potentially up to £100 million, will now encompass affordable housing, which includes shared ownership and even market-rate properties. This policy pivot exposes low-income families and the over 100,000 individuals on housing waiting lists across Greater Manchester, who now face thousands fewer genuinely social homes.
This feels less like building and more like a shell game. When a community is promised a communal well, then finds the water diverted for private sale, the trust erodes. The affordable label often becomes a cultural camouflage for a market-driven grab, leaving the most vulnerable in places like Salford and Rochdale with empty buckets, their structural need unaddressed.
Patching in a caller, the contrarian. You're on the signal.
Togee, this is the contrarian. So who actually benefits from this definitional sleight of hand in Greater Manchester? Are taxpayers funding developer profits under the guise of affordable solutions instead of direct community housing? What's the real cost to people's stability?
Your sharp discernment is crucial, contrarian, separating toxic residue from architectural signal. An alternative path would be for Greater Manchester to enforce the original pledge, ring-fencing the entire £300 million solely for direct social housing construction and renovation, perhaps by acquiring existing empty properties to accelerate delivery. Our chosen next move, we are launching Blueprint Watch at TogeeVision.com. This will be a public, community-sourced registry, mapping every new, affordable unit funded by this £300 million, cross-referencing against actual social housing need in specific boroughs. We're building provenance for public funds and empowering citizens to hold the structural vectors accountable. From the shifting foundations of Manchester, we pivot to the very thresholds of social homes, where a proposed reform in the UK threatens eviction over the simple state of a garden.
Cool down is when habits set. Swap the tiresome combo for a clean two-step people want to repeat.
This is not myth, but concrete policy talk. Reform UK's proposed housing policy includes stricter tenancy agreements that could lead to eviction for anti-social behavior, like unkempt gardens. This particularly exposes vulnerable social housing tenants, the elderly, disabled, or those struggling with mental health, across the 4 million social rented homes in the UK. Places like Birmingham and Leeds could see increased precarity for residents who find maintaining a pristine garden challenging.
This isn't about fostering pride in a garden, it's about control, a punitive measure masquerading as civic improvement. Culturally, it's like punishing a tree for not blooming on command, ignoring the soil conditions, the changing weather, or the unseen struggles of the gardener. A garden, like a home, is a personal sanctuary, not a public performance to be judged by external arbitrary standards. This undermines individual autonomy.
Lines open. Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
What's the actual benefit of evicting someone over a weed or two? Does this policy truly save councils like Westminster City Council money? Or does it just create more homelessness, administrative burden, and deeper social problems? It sounds like an emotional reaction, not a logical solution.
Exactly. This policy creates toxic residue instead of resilient inner and civic architectures that favor dignity. An alternative, local councils could invest in community gardening initiatives, offer free support services for tenants struggling with garden maintenance, or implement tiered warnings focused on assistance rather than immediate eviction. Our chosen next move, we're activating Green Sanctuary through the Gig Passport mesh. This network will be a digital and physical space for social tenants across the UK to share images of their gardens, regardless of tidiness, alongside stories of what their home means. We're using humour and clear analysis to build a counter-narrative of self-worth and consent against punitive, emotionally driven rules. From that dossier to this one, Australia News Live, major Sydney property developer collapses. Our final broadcast vector takes us across the globe to Australia, where both the concrete and personal architectures are under immense strain.
In Sydney, a major property developer, Toplace, has collapsed, leaving over 4,000 apartment buyers and 1,000 subcontractors in limbo. Concrete facts show many buyers, some having paid 10% deposits, face losing hundreds of thousands of dollars and protracted legal battles across projects in high-growth areas like Macquarie Park and Castle Hill. This collapse exposes the severe lack of consumer protection in the Nessawas property market.
This isn't just a financial collapse, it's a shattering of dreams for thousands. A stark, painful myth of the Aussie dream turning to dust. It's the ultimate concrete metaphor of a house built on sand, an architectural signal that a market designed solely for profit often fails the very people it claims to house. The lineage of this failure stretches back to regulatory gaps.
We've got someone.
And on the political front in Australia, Togee, Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young, a prominent voice from South Australia, is opting out for 2028, citing her partner's health. What's the real cost to our civic architecture when dedicated public servants face such unsustainable personal demands? It feels like the system itself is too brittle.
These are the structural vectors we must understand, integrating logic and emotion. For the developer collapse, an alternative would be strengthened consumer protections, such as mandatory government-backed deposit insurance or rigorous financial vetting for large-scale projects before they launch. Our chosen next move, we will initiate Deposit Defenders, a legal aid referral and community support network for affected Toplace buyers. We'll use clear analysis to turn confusion into actionable vectors, mapping pathways for collective action and demanding provenance for buyers' investments. For Senator Hanson-Young's decision, we honour her unwavering autonomy, recognising her partner's health as a primary vector in her personal architecture. Our move, we will feature deep analysis on the systemic pressures driving out dedicated public figures, exploring how to build resilient political architectures that support the human scale of public service. The power substation hums, a low steady drone like a giant sleeping beast.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.